Hi, hello, good day, and welcome to Women's Voice on GTV and GBC News. Remember, we are streaming live on Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, on Facebook, and all our other social media platforms. Today, we are looking at a very critical issue, addressing child marriage in Ghana. Yes, there still exists child marriages in many of our communities in Ghana. A lot of noise have been made. Some progress have been made, but we want to look at the progress that have been made, what we need to do more, and what we need to expect from government, and even all of us as community members. We have two beautiful women with us here in the studio to look at this very important issue. I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we will look at the discussion. Welcome to Women's Voice.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Safia Tamimo, with the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the head of the Child Marriage Unit. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Not a new face.
At all. Yes, so my
Fida
name
Ghana.
is that's it. So Susan Aite from Fida Ghana.
Fida Ghana.
Yeah.
Have we made progress? Child marriage. Safia, let me start with you. Since you are with the ministry, you are in a better position to tell us.
Yes, I would say Ghana have made progress since the launch of the National Strategic Framework on Ending Child Marriage 2017. It's actually a 10-year framework, so from 2017 to 2026. Okay. So we've made progress in terms of policies, in terms of coordination, in terms of program implementation, interventions, and all that. Notable amount of progress that we have made is the launch of the Affirmative Action Gender Equity Act. Yeah. We also continue to implement the Children's Act, which specify who a child is, the consequences of child marriage and all that. And then we also have the Social Protection Act now, which looks at, vulnerability, because most of the drivers of child marriage, we always say, is poverty. Yeah. So what does social protection does? Social protection, and then the LEAP especially, is to cushion households, vulnerability. Provide cash grants for vulnerable households, especially households that they are girls. It provides the cash grants to them. So it will cushion them, it will let them stay in school, and then, be able to achieve what they intend to do. So policy-wise, we have actually made some gains.
The way Auntie Susan is looking at your face, I know she wants to ask you a question, but I'll ask you that question on her behalf. I mean, after all these policies, we still have children, young girls being forced into marriages.
Yes. So
is the policy working?
The policy is working. I can say the policy is working, but then effective implementation is what we are gearing towards. And then we were working collaboratively with the social welfare, with the police, with CSOs, with our UN partners like UNFPA and the UNICEF. I can say that though we still have child marriage, but then we are doing well when it comes to the reduction rates. Because in Ghana, in the 1980s, we were recording about 40%. Currently, as we speak now, child marriage is at the rate of 16%. Which I can say,
yes, it's
a bit high. That is because 16%. Of regional disparities. Because when you look at the northern region, northeast, Savannah, upper east, and upper west, we still have, child marriage in there. Those are the areas that is quite prevalent. But then notwithstanding, when you look at West and Central Africa, Ghana, we are not doing bad when it comes to
when we compare ourselves with other countries. But Central is a war-torn area, so at least you can.
Child marriage.
It's not a good example to make.
We need to hasten our progress. We need to fasten our interventions and all that, because we set our goal to per the SDGs 2030 to eliminate child marriage.
So if we are still at 16%,
which I think that goal was quite ambitious. But then certainly we will get there. We will definitely get there.
Susan Aite.
I know Gloria is looking at me too, actually, punch holes in what Safia is saying. But I think that if you look at 40% to 16, it's more or less like half, or even more than half, or less than half. We've done some progress, yes. I think a lot has been done when it comes to awareness creation. And a lot of civil society organizations were actually roped in when, at a time when I was talking to Safia about it, where, they had the whole, child marriage unit.
Yes.
And there was a lot of, interaction and engagement with civil society organizations. We had a platform. Everybody would actually place on the platform what they were doing.
Okay.
So people were much aware of what's, was going on. And a lot of CSOs were in the regions creating awareness. Yes. So if it comes to awareness creation, yes.
We have done
but
some work there.
Yes, when it comes to enforcement, it becomes a bit difficult for us in our part of this world. We always say Ghana has a fine legal framework, but when it comes to the enforcement, that is what becomes a challenge for us. But I wish that we could still go back to the time when the Department of Children had a very strong coordination program in effect.
Yeah.
And basically I think now it's not as it used to be. But there was a time when it was very, very active, very strong. Yes, yeah, yes.
Do we have a lot of the cases in Accra? I know you mentioned that in the 3 northern regions, the cases are high there.
Greater Accra, we don't really have much cases because usually we depend on the Ghana Demographic and Health Survey, what the data tells us. We don't just look and say, oh, there's child marriage here, there's teenage pregnancy here. So per the data, we don't really have much much child marriages in the Greater Accra, even though we might have some pockets of teenage pregnancies and all that, but then we don't really have much child marriage in the Greater Accra
region. So what are the cases? I mean, are people willing to come forward and report in these cases? We will go and speak to Abiba in the Upper East region, regional manager of ActionAid. She is there and she can better tell us the real stories happening there. Yeah. But are people willing to come forward and report?
For now, because of much awareness and then, advocacy that has been done, people are willing to report. But then after the reporting, when you want them to now come forward to testify and all that, then they are drawing back. Yeah. But then people are willing to report. But then they will report, but they don't want to follow you through the processes. But then people are reporting because we engage students, we engage, communities. Teachers are also even reporting to us. But then when you report, they'll tell you to keep the reports anonymous, which we always do. Because you go into sensitize and advocate the child marriages, then you give them a help. And the ministry, we have a helpline that you can actually call to report. We also have a WhatsApp line that you can actually, if you don't want to call, you can actually WhatsApp and reports, and then quickly we follow it up. And because we work, coordinatedly, we have link with DOFSU, we have link with social welfare, depending on where the report is actually coming from. Then we link you to the social welfare there, to the DOFSU officer there, to at least follow up. So I can say people are willing to report, and that has actually helped. It has actually helped to keep a lot of marriages, especially in school, because you realize that sometimes when it's getting to JHS, when the children are writing, especially the community where I'm coming from, the Zongo community, once you reach basic 9, which is the JHS 3,
then the breast appearing a bit.
You are grown to get married. And then families that have large families and then with girls, they think that once a girl is married off, one less mouth to feed. So when you complete GHS, you've had enough education, go and marry and all that. And we have, calls from teachers, especially, and in Kaswa, they have some Zongo communities. They've called us, and then we follow up. And most of those girls are now in SHS, some are in learning skill and all that. And we are following through all that.
Let's go to Zoom and speak to Abiba, the regional manager, ActionAid. And I must say that this program is sponsored by ActionAid Ghana. We really appreciate the support, ActionAid. Abiba, if you are on the line and can hear us, tell us, what are the major drivers of child marriage you see in your area?
Thank you very much, Gloria, and greetings to all your cherished listeners. I don't know if you can hear me. I could hear you very clearly.
Okay.
Actually, significant progress has been made, just as Hajia Safia mentioned. However, from experience, there are still some key challenges that continue to drive child marriage in the Upper West region specifically. One of such key challenges has to do with poverty. And these challenges, I must say, are actually interconnected. There are some parents who wake up with their whole family in a day and cannot provide even 2 square meals. Some struggle to provide even 1 square meal. And as Hajia has already mentioned, giving out the girl in marriage becomes a great option that lessens the burden in the family. One key challenge from experience working with communities as action aid and partners that has been identified has to do with poor parenting. There are quite a number of parents who go to sleep in some rural communities without knowing where their children sleep or the time these children come into sleep. And you find girls as young as 12 years, 13 years, loitering about at odd hours, and as they loiter about, they become prey to uh, perpetrators of child marriage in their communities. One other key thing that is worth noting has to do with the quality of education, particularly in rural Ghana. There are some schools that they will write BEC and all the people's, the whole school zero. And if they fail, to most of these girls, marriage becomes an option. And since they are out of the school, they face marriage, and getting them back to continue their education or to even re-enter to continue their education becomes challenging, because uh, child marriage, there are number of forces behind the perpetrators who commit the crime. Some of these perpetrators try to go engaging all the key stakeholders that will want to come out to ask for out of court settlement. And when they come asking for out of court settlement, it end up having the girl going back into the marriage as we would have expected her to be brought back to continue her education. Another key factor to note is the existence of harmful sociocultural practices. In fact, I have had an experience of a young girl who was married at age 15, and the parent had to call out to me for support to help rescue this girl from the marriage, with the reason being that attempts to get the girl back to continue her education failed, because the other community think that if this girl who is a bride is taken away from them, then the girl's community will find it difficult to go back to this other community to be able to marry a bride, if even the lady is of age to be married. And so there are these traditions and harmful sociocultural norms and practices that also continue to hamper rescue efforts of child marriages in some of the rural communities that we find ourselves. Another key thing worth noting is weak enforcement of the laws, as Hajia have said. There are times where child marriage cases are reported to the law enforcement agencies, and they take time to respond. Sometimes the reasons are that they are under-resourced. And by the time they go to respond, allowing the child to live with the perpetrator and going to report later, going to rescue later, there would have been some relationship or knowledge with the child, and some of these girls are rescued back with pregnancy. And as they come back to their families with pregnancies, the best some families try to do is that let us discuss and see how this girl who is probably already dropped out of school can go back and continue her education. The re-entry policy is there. It has been so helpful, and like we all have testified, they've been great progress. But the forces behind some of these perpetrators of child marriage gives them the impunity to actually continue to perpetuate the act, from one girl to the other. I will want to pause here because there are quite a number of key barriers that still promote child marriage, but for time, I will say thank you and over to you.
A number of barriers, but let's look at what community-led interventions you have used that has helped you in saving these girls. We'll come back and look at FIDA. She talked again about weak law enforcement, and so we'll look at what the laws are. But Abiba, if you can tell us what interventions, community interventions, you have used to help you save these girls and make a lot of success stories out of that region.
All right. Yes, thank you very much. ActionAid and partners in the Upper West region instituted this community volunteer group called Community-Based Anti-Violence Teams. We call them COMBAT for short. These community-based anti-violence teams are actually in operation across about 80 communities in the Upper West region. And working with these community volunteers, between 2012 and 2015, 169 child marriage cases were actually reported and survivors rescued to come back and continue their education. Then from 2016 to 2018, there were also 51 cases of child marriage that the combat, working together with other key stakeholders, were able, 51 girls were being rescued from child marriage. And as we speak today, right from April 2025 to 2026, 21 cases of child marriages were reported to this community combats, and working with state actors, the girls have been rescued back to continue their education. And recently, we've had some engagement with some of these survivors, having over 20 of them climb the educational ladder up to the senior high school and even the tertiary institutions, with some finding their way into nurses training college and teacher training colleges. ActionAid in the Upper West region also established a survivor shelter to provide temporary accommodation for victims of gender-based violence and child marriage survivors. So cases are referred from the district level or from the various departments, particularly when such survivors need to undergo psychosocial counseling, and then also have their cases being heard in court. When they come to the regional level and they find it difficult to access some form of shelter, these survivors are referred to the shelter provided by ActionAid in the Upper West region, located in Wa. Whilst they are at the shelter, they are also taking through professional psychosocial counseling just to help them to be able to cope with the situation. And once their cases are heard, they go back, being reintegrated back to their families, and also have them continue their education. At the basic school level, ActionAid also have established what we call the Girls Empowerment and Advocacy Platforms. These girls empowerment and advocacy platforms, role models have been trained and with support from state actors like the social welfare, DOFSU, Shuraj, and other relevant knowledge and information to be able to engage these these girls to increase their knowledge and empower them to be able to resist attempts to get them married.
Thank you, Abiba. Thank you so much. Let's go and look at FIDA Ghana. I mean, the cases from 16451 to 21. I'm sure that makes you happy, Susan.
Well, not too happy. I mean, we wish there wasn't any at all.
Yes, that's true. But I mean, looking from 164.
Yeah.
Then down to 51. If you are doing 21, at least some
progress, yes, has been
progress
made.
we can celebrate.
Yes. Yes, I'm not sure how much or what the level of celebration will
We
be
should
with
do.
21.
Yes.
Basically,
I mean, that's
yes.
still high.
Because, I mean, the laws are there. You have stated quite clearly
Yes.
that, if you look at the Children's Act, I believe that it's 1998 at 560, which has been amended. You look at section 14, then the one, it says that no person shall force a child to be betrothed and to be the subject of a dowry transaction or to be married. Then the 14.2, says that the minimum age of marriage, whatever kind, is 18 years.
18 years.
The section 15 is the one that, counts with the criminal offense. The only thing is that the criminal offense is 500, I believe, Ghana cedis, and then 1 year in prison, which we believe is not a very strong.
500?
500 Ghana cedis. Yeah, the penalty units. It amounts to 500 Ghana cedis. And then you would probably, if you fall foul, you'll be in prison for just a year. So that is where, we need to strengthen. Yes, and review it, yes. But I believe Safia said something which I just wanted to say, that within Accra, you would find out that it happens. You'd have the child marriage cases, but it's not reported. Or you find out that parents compel their children to marry, the person who probably impregnated them at the age of 14, 15, 16. We know, like I just said, yes, that, and especially along the, the coastal areas.
Yes.
Right from Accra to the central region. At a point in time, central region had a very high prevalence, of child marriage. And these are some of the issues, basically. We've really been concerned because, well, we did work some time in the northern region and then the upper east, upper west. I think more to do with the upper west. And I think some of the things that really worked well was when you have the community, response mechanisms. Like you heard ActionAid say, they call them combats.
Yes, combat.
Okay, so we call them paralegals.
Okay.
So basically, there's a point in time when they go into the schools and they find out the number of children, especially girls, who have not been coming to school. They look for their parents and they go to, their homes and explain to them the importance of education and encourage them to take their children back, to school. So the education has to be really done well. And then, of course, there are some parents also who would never take back their children because of the issue of poverty. And so we need to make sure that we have made provision for them. To be in the shelters.
Yeah.
Yes. And then if we can partner with some of these institutions like CAMFED, CAMFED has been very good in actually getting back some of our young girls into schools. So if we can have more of the CAMFEDs, that would be excellent, where we can get young girls back to school. And we got to be innovative. There are some things that will attract the young girls back to school. And I think that's things to do with, like, when we have to talk about IT as digital tools. These are some of the things that can encourage them to go back to school. It has a way of taking your focus off other things and coming up with maybe innovative programs that would allow them to even come up with issues or projects that can help solve problems within their own communities. I mean, sanitation is there. So put them in groups, let them work together. It has a way of trying to, arouse their interest in listening. I want to go back.
Role models.
Yes, I want to go back to school. I think school is good. You see. So the area where we have computer, studies only for men, for science students, I think it's an area we should move away from. I know I've heard that they're trying to move away from that, but it has to be taken seriously, where we can really interest, our girls in some of these things. So this is the situation that we are in. We have done quite well compared to maybe yesteryears, but there's more to be done. Yes, there's a lot more to be done. I'm happy that Safia talked about coordination. And that is where sometimes we have been weak on.
Yes.
But
everyone is doing everything.
Like I said earlier on, there was a very strong coordination strategy. So unfortunately, some along the line, it has, kind of like reduced a bit. but we need to activate it, and it requires political will to be able to really get it moving again, because we just talked about coordination on gender-based violence, yesterday. Yes, and I think
last week we looked at child abuse, and the issue of coordination also came up strongly.
Yes.
We have a lot of civil society organizations, but there's no coordination, and so nobody is knowing.
So you see, in the regions, like I said yesterday, in the regions, the coordination seems to be much better. Because sometimes you find them all probably in the same building. And the NGOs are also around them. But in Accra, it's not like that. Sometimes you find other organizations are a little bit territorial. But we need to move away from that, knowing that as we work together, we are working towards a common cause. And so coordination needs to be strengthened. Now, law enforcement is a big issue. If child marriage, is brought to the attention of DOPSU, are we seeing DOPSU actually, rise up to the task? Because I've heard of cases where, DOPSU staff have said, oh, she's pregnant. If we imprison the perpetrator, which is the man, what happens to the child? So basically, you're sending a signal that, this can be done. Yes, it's all right, impunity, basically. So we have to find a way of ensuring that at least the perpetrators, receive some form of punitive, measures, and then also provide, some kind of, support for young girls who get pregnant. It's good we have the re-entry, policy, get them back to school, and make sure that they are engaged. Like I said, there are lots of innovative things that we can get the girls interested in that will make them want to go back to school. That is the only thing. Get their interest, stir up their interest, let them know that, listen, school is good, and that, we need to go back to school. Like you mentioned, the role models.
Yeah, you could use one of these young girls who have gone back, got pregnant, gone back to school, tell her story.
Yes, tell their stories. Like we used to have, the HIV, ambassadors. Yes. So that's something we need to really take a look at and make sure that we can get it, going. Yeah.
You talked about weak law enforcement, and Abiba also attested to that. Safia also said the same thing. Going forward, what can we do to ensure that enforcement of the law is strong, so that the girl child who is forced into marriage at least knows that if someone else is not going to be done to the person, and the perpetrator is going to just go free?
Yeah. I think we've done a lot of trainings, but we need to still do, because some of them are socialized to think differently. So like we are saying, now the government says reset. So we need to reset the minds of, law enforcement, agencies. Let them know the harmful effects of child marriage. Perhaps we haven't really let them see the devastating effects. Look at the fistulas we have. Look at the difficulty in having children. Look at the domestic violence, because if you marry a child that young, I mean, you're probably looking at her and seeing her as a child. So it's easy to really abuse her physically and, other, forms of violence. So the fact that, education is also halted is a big, big, big issue. So there are many, many amongst them that, have the potential to really excel in whatever fields. They are doctors, they are lawyers, they are scientists, engineers, but we kind of, have left them to their devices. If you speak to some of them, very great science, students that would do exceptionally well, when they are given that support. So we need to really support them to get back to school.
Safia, from your findings, has the free SHS helped in reducing the cases?
Yes, free SHS is part of the interventions that has actually helped, in reducing the rate of child marriage, because families that were complaining of poverty as a result of that, because their children cannot transition to the next level, have now, transition. So I can say free SHS has also helped in, curbing child marriage. But there's a lot we need to still do. We need to, raise awareness on the need for education, because once a girl stays in school for 1 year, it prevents the girl a year, from child marriage. So education, I always say, is the key to help us in this fights against child marriage. And then the engagement of the law enforcement agencies, as Auntie Susan has mentioned, a lot of engagement has done in the past. They have been in the space for more than 30 years and all that. And I know a lot of engagement has been done, from the judiciary to the main policing to the DOPSU officers, and then to even the the gender-based violence courts, a lot of engagement has done. But then, as Oliver, you know, we always have to ask for more, and then we have to do it, especially as we are intensifying efforts to reach our 2030, you know, goal. And lots of engagement still needs to be done, trainings and all that. Because recently, I have a judge who reached out to me that he wanted the Human Trafficking Acts, because, you know, there was someone who has trafficked, you know, 2 girls to, you know, the Greater Accra, promising them of jobs only to put them in, I mean, prostitution and all that. So they wanted to find the person, though they needed the act to be able to, you know, and this is someone who knew me. So if he didn't know me, I mean, what would have happened to that case? So a lot of engagement, education, yes,
but I think we also need to address this issue. Where children will go to school and BEC, they all get 0.
Yes, that's
the results, the accountability. GES needs to really, you know, ensure that this doesn't happen.
In areas where it's
just
happening.
Like, yes, Avibata just mentioned, it just kind of, you know, makes you give up. And so you wonder, what am I going to school for anyway, if I'm only going to go in and come back with
nothing?
Is there something that we can do, can devise for, you know, maybe different contexts?
Yes.
I mean, once we talked about, you know, the fishing industry, the fishermen are complaining that their children don't want to go into fishing. So what came up was that maybe, for instance, we could establish, you know, certain specialized schools along the coast that would take, you know, the young boys through the science of fishing. Now, it shouldn't be just one size fits all. If we look at the context in which the children are, the young girls are in the northern region, what is it that we can do differently that can really encourage them to excel in whatever they do? If you're going to do this wholesale thing, you may have issues, because how many people want to go into the northern parts to really teach and get them? It's only a few who will, and even when they do so, I mean, they are not really rewarded, I mean, basically. So we need to take a look at it and make sure that
that's very true. Thank you so much, Susie, for that kind of
results.
Yes, Abiba, let's come back to you. ActionAid has done a lot of work in the 3 northern regions. Share with us some of the success stories you have made in this field.
Yes, like I did mention earlier, one of the key successes to me has been the number of successful rescues. And the number of girls that have moved beyond the basic school level to continue their education at the senior high school and at the tertiary level. As we speak today, if you add the data, we have more than 200 girls that were rescued. Yes, of course, there are very few situations where some girls rescued have gone back into the marriages due to the fact that they got pregnant, or parents are not willing to take them back because of the level of poverty in such families. One other key thing that is worth noting is the fact that the level of education is increasing or has increased some significant level of awareness. And because there's been some level of awareness, there are some families who voluntarily come up to report when their girls are being taken out for marriage. There are some of these survivors that also voluntarily come out to report anonymously. But like we said, sometimes they report, but the support, if not provided adequately, we have some of the girls going back into the marriage or being forced or pinned down in those marriages. So with voluntary reporting, with the number of rescues and level of awareness in the community, it's contributed to the, let me say, the reducing number of cases that are being reported, though issues of child marriage still persist in some areas of the region.
All right.
Thank you, Nobel.
Thank you, Abiba. We will look at the priorities for 2030, but the phone lines is activated now. You can join us in this discussion with your comments, your question. Abiba is on the line, Susie is here, and then Safia is also here to answer the questions. If there's a story you know, share with us. there's a child you know, a girl you know, who is being forced into child marriage, call us, tell us about it. And I'm sure that FIDA Ghana, Gender Ministry, and ActionAid would take an action. We are looking at child marriage, the success stories, the progress we have made, and what remains to be done. With Susie and then Safia and Abiba on the line. So let's look at the priorities. Safia, 2030, Gender Ministry. What are the priorities? We've talked about an intensified education, although we've done a lot.
Yes, so the priority as we move faster to the 2030 agenda,
which is approaching very fast.
4 years, 4 years more.
We'll be on the intervention.
4 years more.
Yes, we'll
it looks far away, but it's very close.
Very close to us, very close. So we'll be intervention that have worked. So empowerment of girls, you know, it's one area that has actually worked in curbing child marriage. You know, keeping girls in school, ensuring that they retain in school, they follow through to completion is an intervention that has worked. The creation of safe spaces, you know, where in school or out of school girls, boys are also not left out when we are talking of child marriage. Yeah. So I wouldn't want my audience to think that
it's only girls.
Yes, it's only girls, because we have data that points to the fact that
boys are also being forced into marriage.
Affected by child marriage. So the creation of safe spaces as also another intervention that has actually worked, which is part of the priority, you know, government is committed in looking at. The ministry with
but are you
UNFPA,
creating the safe spaces, or you are waiting for ActionAid?
No, we are creating the safe space. We are not implementers. Right, you know, we give the policy direction.
Yes.
So the ministry with UNFPA and UNICEF, under the UNFPA UNICEF Global Program to End Child Marriage, you know, it's actually implemented by 2 NGOs. We have NORSAC in the northern region and then International Needs in the central region.
Okay.
So they are the NGOs that are implementing it there. So they create the safe spaces there. They have a number of, you know, contact hours that they engage both boys and girls, and it has really worked so well. It has really worked. So as part of that, there's even an impact evaluation on that project to ascertain the impact and the possible scale up, you know, to other regions, because right now it's only implemented in the central region and also in the northern region. Central region, because you don't want to talk about the, you know, high prevalence of child marriage, teenage pregnancy in the central region. And we still have it. We still have,
despite the progress made.
Despite the progress made, we still have it. Just recently, last month, the ministry had a sensitization on child marriage, adolescent pregnancy, and all that in the central region. And there was this woman who walked to us that our coming is very timely because her 60-year-old girl has gotten pregnant, and she was thinking of pushing her to marriage. So we said no. Apparently, she has gone to the Queen Mother, and the Queen Mother said no, she shouldn't do that. It's against the law.
And the Queen Mothers are really helping these days.
It's against the law and all that. And she was being hesitant. So when we sent the invitation that we're coming for her, the Queen Mother intentionally invited her. She came, she sat through, and she listened. And after that, she walked to me. The Queen Mother said she was going to introduce her to me. But then once she has walked to me, that is it. So we took her contact that we monitor. So we told her that she shouldn't worry. Once she can support her child, he should just support her. And she's part of those who have written the BEC. She should just support her to give birth and then
go back to school.
Yes, go back to school. She promised doing that. So our departments of gender and children in the region are monitoring. I also have a, you know, her phone number so that we'll be monitoring to see, you know, the success. So those are the interventions that has really worked, and then it's part of government priority. And the national strategic framework, you know, it's also ending this year, 2026, because it's a 10-year framework. So it's part of the priority for us to review the framework for the next 10 years or probably for the next 6 years to go in line with the SDG goals. And as part of that, we also have a monitoring and evaluation, you know, tool, which is part of the strategic framework, just for us to monitor every 2 years intervention that has worked and, you know, possible scale up and all that.
Okay.
Yes, so
let's go to Abiba, let's look at ActionAid priorities before 2030. Are we making...
Well, thank you very much. Before we go on to look at the priorities, one other key thing I would like to touch as an intervention made by ActionAid that has worked so well has been the establishment of girls' empowerment and advocacy platforms. Across the region, such platforms are in operation in over 150 communities.
Wow.
And through these platforms, girls learn and acquire information about their reproductive health. Also closely linked with that is the ActionAid manual on ABC manual on reproductive health. And
Abiba, just
this
hold on one
manual,
minute. Let me just go to the phone
yes,
lines and then we'll come back and then you continue. Welcome to Women's Voice. Please, let's hear you.
Yeah, my name is Kizito,
Okay, Kizito, let's hear you.
calling from Koko.
Okay.
Yeah, the contribution I have for this is that sometimes the problem is not by the children, rather it's by the parents. Reason why I said it's by the parents. There is a children that you see, sometimes what they want, their parents are not capable to give it to them. And their parents are not there for them, like, check how they are doing, their lifestyles and other things. Understand?
Yes.
So young ones are having the chance to control them and to confuse them by giving them pregnant. And before you understand it, they will enter into the marriage without preparing the marriage.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kizito. That's a good point you have made. And I think that Safia, Susan, and then Abiba have emphasized that the parents have a very important role to play. Abiba, let's come back to you and look at the intervention and then the priorities before 2030. Hello, Abiba.
yes, sorry, I was muted while speaking.
Oh, sorry.
I was just adding that another key intervention that has worked is the development of an ABC manual on reproductive health, which contains basic questions that adolescents ask. And these role models in the schools have been trained comprehensively on the information captured in the manual.
Okay.
And they help to share this information with the survivors. Aside that, we also have the Boys Club, just as Safia indicated, ActionAid in the Upper West region, realizing some boys also become victims of child marriage and other forms of abuses. And the fact that some of these boys drop out of school due to so many other factors and end up coming back to pull these girls out of school for marriage. ActionAid have established boys clubs in over 120 schools in 3 districts in the Upper West region. Also they are being provided with some form of education to help keep them in school and they becoming champions or in advocating for their own rights and the rights of other girls in the communities.
Okay, Abiba, hold on. Let's just go back again to the phone lines. There is a caller on the line. Yes, hello, welcome to Women's Voice. Please, let's hear you. Hello? Okay, I think we might have lost that person. Abiba, please continue. But please make it brief so that we can do Susan and then Safia before we wrap up. Hello, Abiba.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'm with you.
Yes, so if you can wrap up for me.
Yes, by way of priorities that ActionAid Ghana is working on from now on, one key thing is that the country's strategic paper of ActionAid, the 7th strategic paper, has prioritized issues of women and girls' rights and specifically advocating for zero tolerance for violence against women and girls, and this includes child marriage. Through our work, we will continue to also scale up adolescent friendly health corners in the regions and working closely with the Ghana Health Service to provide these spaces for adolescents to walk in to acquire or ask to know information about their reproductive system.
All right,
And
Abiba,
I
please
also
hold on a minute for
indicated the
me.
positive masculinity.
Let's just go
Yes.
quickly to the phone lines and then we'll come back. Hello, welcome to Women's Voice. Please, let's hear you.
Please, my name is Albert.
Okay.
Please, thank you so much for this program.
You're welcome.
Uh, my focus is on the school and the community.
Okay.
Right now, what is going on in our school and our community is very bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm discussing this with my friend that right now, if we give birth to a son or a daughter, we have to focus on the son. Because now trauma though, this we and what is going on in our community and school, we don't know what to happen in our future. Because these kids are our leaders.
Yeah.
So I'm pleading for the gender sector. They should focus on the school in our community. They should share this information. So we should protect our kids because we don't know what will happen. Because we are green, we are leading. They are coming to take over. So if we didn't focus very well, things will happen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that point. I mean, it's very true. We need to pay a lot of attention. Safia, she mentioned gender ministry that you have to pay a lot of attention to. So, Abiba, please kindly wrap up quickly for me, and then let's come back to the studio.
Yes, we will also continue our efforts at engaging female role models who have excelled in their chosen careers to have periodic engagements with teachers that are always having weekly contact with them. Okay. As these female role models have this periodic engagement with the girls, it motivates and then build their interest to want to continue their education and not see child marriage as a preferred option. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, let me just take my last caller. Hamza, welcome to Women's Voice. Let's hear you. Hello, Hamza. Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I'm enjoying your program.
Thank you.
I'm calling you up north.
Okay.
Very interesting. I enjoy your program so much. But I have a different view with respect to this particular topic.
Okay.
Yes, I hear you mention child marriage. These days, if you observe the way children mostly are exposed to life, you realize that even men or their parents are no longer taking, can no longer control them to the fullest because of the school situation. They have their rights. Men can, mother can no longer interrupt. Child's rights. All the time, child's rights. So this time around, if you observe critically, parents do not give out their children for marriage. They will initiate it and then go alongside to get themselves impregnated. I get in that. And another critical thing I observe, critical about girls, is that when they are in schools, they enter into certain caucuses by giving themselves out for boyfriend, girlfriend issues. Schools are supposed to be a place for where maybe parents can easily be.
Hello, Hamza. Okay, I think we lost him there. But these are, things that are really happening. And we can't say that there's child rights, so you cannot control or discipline your child. That's another topic. Yes.
But I think that the schools should now, look at it critically. PTA meetings, some of these things must be addressed. But like I earlier said, you must give the girls something to, look up to. Like we mentioned, I said ICT.
Yeah.
Now, we have to change with the time. So if we have, like the class we have, if we can get them to have a mentorship, create their own mentorship plan, work towards it. perhaps work with their parents and themselves, making sure that, listen, I want to be a nurse. And I realized, especially in the northern part, there are lots of young ladies who want to become nurses. They are someone run away from the child marriage, come down to the south to do KIE, make money, and go back to the nursing school. So let them have an objective, to work towards. And then as we do that, both parents and then the young person knows that, listen, I have a goal ahead and I'm working towards it. Secondly, we've been working with international needs. There's a consortium. So international needs is the lead. So what we are doing, FIDA's angle is to train young people.
You have to be wrapping up. So.
Yes, training young people who will become peers and make sure that they can really be the first point of contact when the girls are going through issues. We also have, final thing I'll say, it's a program we call My Body, My Wealth. So basically, as a young person, you're looking at your bodily integrity as your asset. And so if you can instill into young people that, listen, your body is an asset and it's a wealth. So you must make sure that you are taking care of your body, that integrity of your body is secure and safe. Simply because there's, a future ahead of you and you're working towards it, then that's fine. And I think these are some of the creative things that we should be doing to encourage our young girls, to stay in school. Yeah.
But 2030, we are likely to make the mark.
Hopefully.
Safia, 2030,
yes, 2030,
Ghana is making the mark.
We'll make a mark, though. Yes, we will certainly make a mark. We are hoping to. I mean, with collaboratively. I mean, we use the multi-sectoral approach.
That's right.
That's why Auntie Susan is here. That's why we have GBC ActionAid is here.
Right.
I mean, because we need the media, to amplify our voices.
Exactly. Ready we to help.
Go, media can go there. And I'm happy we have all the callers being men. That should tell you that at least some understanding is going somewhere.
Yes.
What we are saying, we are not saying in a vacuum.
Yes,
The men are the ones marrying the girls. So if they are the ones listening to the program
and
calling in, that should tell you that we are.
Actually, she tends to get lots of male callers.
Yes, really. I do get a lot of male callers, a lot. And so that's good.
Yes, that's good. Especially
awesome.
With this topic,
yes.
we have the men calling in because we have this campaign, the He for She campaign.
That's right.
We want the men to be allies, to stand in for the girls, and once they stand in for us, I mean, we are good to go.
Thank you so much, Susanna Ite, Safia from Gender Ministry, and Nabiba ActionAid. Thank you so much. So we have all come to the conclusion that every girl deserves the opportunity to learn, dream, and choose her own future. Don't force any young girl into any marriage. Let the girl go to school. Let the boy go to school and help build Ghana. Thank you all for joining and for calling me. My name is Gloria Anderson. Thank you. See you next week.